What are they? What's the saying? Some are just born with it. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's maybe they're born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Hello and welcome. My name is Alex Gonzalez, and with me today is my good old friend, J.E.
Hey, that's me.
And please remember that we are not game devs. How are you doing today, Jay?
I'm doing all right. I hear a weird sound in real life. I
Oh, I was like on my side?
no, it sounds like someone's leaving their trash, their garbage disposal on. But I just had to check if that was coming from me because I was like, what is that sound?
Garbage disposals are notoriously famous for breaking,
Oh
but
yeah.
those are not the appliances that we are talking about today. Today, we are creating something new. Every week, we are not game devs will create a new, exciting video game idea that we have always wanted to play, but do not have any knowledge or know how to create the wonderful experience that is video games. And today is my turn to present We Are Not Game Devs 116th IP. And we're going to begin with this basic concept. So, I had an idea, and I want to see where we could take it. I have an idea about a platformer, but the platformer is going to be in the style of Ice Climbers or Catherine, where you're ascending, right? You're going up, you're going from side to side, but you're going up to get somewhere. And what I want it to be is I want it to be in a place where it's a textile factory. And what you're doing is you're a design on a piece of carpet, like maybe like a bipedal kind of person, and you're traveling through the carpet, and as the carpet's being printed and kind of making designs, you have to avoid those things while also maybe taking out stitching to erase obstacles. Maybe that's like a power of yours that you can take out stitching, and you're trying to go, and as you see the obstacles falling down as they're being created, you have to chart your own path going up. I thought it was a cool concept, but I want to see if we can make it into a game. I got inspired by two things. Hercules, the Disney movie, where the beginning scene is a bunch of women singing on vases that were they were decorated on and started moving around. And then I was looking at a Try Guys video where they try a bunch of different really spicy nuts, and they had tapestry behind them as kind of a green screen, but it all added up. Like it was all stitched together and made almost like a level depending on their designs.
I have a few ideas I want to bounce back at you. The first one is just a artistic thing I want added to the game, like just like a flair to give it.
Yeah, shoot.
Um, First of all, I imagine this game to be two different ways, either 2D or 3D, third person behind the shoulder.
Yeah.
Um, but either way we go, the small artistic touch I want to put it to it is as your character is running and platforming, you're going to have a trail behind you. And then when you finish whatever level or stage, the camera zooms out and then shows the path that you took in
Oh, that'd be
the
really
cloth.
cool. And then how about this to add on to your idea? What if it's different colored fabric, and then you get to see if you connect to online everybody else's fabric if you would like to overlay on top of yours to see what path they took.
That is cool. I like it. And then maybe like specific power-ups in the whatever the power-ups would be, maybe like a grapple hook to get you up a little bit higher, kind of like ice climbers and stuff, where you like take a grappling hook and put it onto a thread. Whenever you
Yeah.
pick up the grapple or the power up, or maybe whenever you use the power up, I could imagine on the tapestry when it zooms out, it shows like instead of it just being a line, like
Yeah.
it would be like a design. So whenever you pick up a power up, that up design will burst there, type of thing. And then
Okay.
another area when a tapestry or when you use the grappling hook, the place where it connects, that area will get hit with like a burst of a design. So it zooms out. You can see where, if we do the online thing, you can see where they use the grapple hook because the grapple hook will have its specific design. And then somewhere where it has like a, I don't know, a triple jump that will also have a unique design with three little closer together designs that are linked together somehow. I don't know if you know what I
Yeah.
mean, but like when you pick up the power up or use it, this is just artistic, but behind on the tapestry, you'll see like a design bloom out, kind of like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what a good example, but when Mega Man dies, you know how he has that,
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he
yeah,
kind of radiates his aura in a
yeah.
circle around.
When you pick up an item, it does that in the tapestry behind you.
Oh,
You
all
know what I
right. Yeah,
mean?
yeah. So it creates a marker where you picked it up. And
Exactly.
how about
And when
we're
you
gonna
used
have
it,
each item explosion be unique to the upgrade, so it's not just
exactly.
one. So
That's what I mean.
someone
Yeah,
who
yeah,
zooms out can see each and every one. Okay,
yeah.
I'm on track with that.
The Now to my second idea, the third person versus 2D or third person, yeah, versus 2D perspective. The reason why I kind of think 3D would be cool is if we make it like super grandiose. Like we'll have one level where it's like three red ribbons from the ceiling and they're like twisting and you have to like run up it and jump from side to side and stuff. Um, but I could also see 2D as well, but then that would have much different art style to it.
What we could do, would it be too much to do a mix of 2D and 3D where maybe we have some flat levels and then we have some where it's like you're bouncing off curtains and
Okay.
different
Yeah. Kind of like Crash Bandicoot type of deal, like a 2.5D where your character model is 3D and sometimes
yeah.
it is a 2D platforming, but in certain areas, perspective will shift to behind your character and then you'll start doing a 3D deal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like it.
Um I don't know where the story is going to be with this. I almost want it to make it more simple to focus on the gameplay, make it more of like a night at the museum kind of thing, where every night maybe he just awakens and beautiful fabric just appears after he goes to sleep. Maybe kind of like this is a weird fable to kind of harken back to, but do you remember like the elves, the elf cobblers in the shoe shop?
Kind of, yes.
Where they would kind of come in at night and fix shoes, and the worker and the owner of the shop didn't have to do shit.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, like there's just it's like a what do you call these people? The tap no, not tapestris. Like someone who makes linens.
Seamstress,
Seem
no seamstress. Is it that, or is that what you do to make dresses and
I
stuff?
don't know. I don't know my
For lack of a better word, and due to our
seamstress.
ignorance, we're gonna say seamstress
Yeah,
for now.
so you are you are a magical needle that becomes human eyes, like you
Oh, how
become
about this?
humanoid.
It's a magical needle that creates itself, and the needle is like your grappling hook where you can attach. And then maybe another power up you said would be like the triple jump, and one more would be that you could move a platform from one side to the other. Like you can attach the needle to and pull it over.
So you're the string then, the thread.
Yeah, you're the needle that creates the string, and then you just maybe the needle sits on top of you or on your back.
How about this will give it a much different feel, but what if instead of being like humanoid creature, you're like a snake where you're like a needle and then you could like kind of aim it like I don't know how to
But then
describe what I'm like
it's
like kind
going
of
to
like
be
a
hard to
whale.
jump as a needle.
I'm
Unless you're
assuming
maybe
you're
like a
like
pin cushion, maybe you're like one of those pin cushions that seamstresses use that have a bunch of needles in them and you're bouncing around.
okay. Yeah, so let's say you are the pin cushion. You have two pins sticking out of you on the sides that look like arms, and you're carrying the thread with you, right? And then on the end
Yeah.
of the thread is the needle. And yeah, I guess the main mechanic of the game is you using this needle, throwing it up like a grappling hook, and then making sure it goes through and then down. And like pulls
Yeah.
through, and then you could like grab it to climb your thread and stuff like that.
All right. Is there going to be any kind of now we know that the game's going to be kind of scrolling down as you create more? Should we have it where there's a time limit, or should we just have them kind of jump around and explore without any kind of pressure
Maybe
of
instead
death?
of a time limit, we could make it more like trying to think of a good game that does it, but more like a linear Metroidvania, I guess, where you're traveling through this thing, through this tapestry. Maybe there's like collectibles that you collect and find secrets, but you're just going from area to area. And then when you get to an area, you solve some kind of puzzle. Like you have to thread certain things together, right? And then that'll open up an area to get to the next point. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
all right.
Maybe
Yeah.
there's a rip in the tapestry and then you have to like thread that together somehow and so you can make it across type of thing. So there's just multiple puzzles that you have to
So,
solve to the get
and
to the
that's
top.
and we can talk about that puzzle a little bit more in depth. I like what you said there. Maybe there's going to be a loose string missing off certain tapestries that you then sew in to finish a puzzle, and maybe vice versa, where you'll notice string that is extra and doesn't quite fit with the design. So then you would take it out, and maybe you could use that for ammo later for like a power up to do hook shot stuff.
Yeah. And this does, if we do it puzzle based, does kind of change the original idea that we're going with, especially with like the online, because like the way the online would have worked in our original idea, I think we both had the same idea where it was kind of like you're trying to get somewhere fast and quick, and so you don't know how you're going to get up there, type of thing, and so you're going to use different ways to get up there. Um, and so it'd be cool to see other players' ways of getting up. So if we want to keep that spirit of it, maybe what we could do is there's you have maybe a limited amount of thread and you could find more throughout the map, but once you run out, maybe that's the end of your run. And there are ways to clear the map, and then when you clear that map, you go to the next tapestry. You know what I mean? But you can run out of thread, and then you can get more by finding an optimal path or finding hidden collectibles, solving side puzzles, and solving main puzzles and stuff like that.
All right. Yeah, that works. And maybe it'll be like I was gonna say different colored thread, but that doesn't make sense. It'll be thread themed with the world. Like you'll find like a puzzle and it'll be like a little roll of thread that you can then bottle up. All
Well,
right.
how about instead it's more cosmetic? Like you could unlock new thread as you go through the game, and like there's hidden ones, and then like you could find the gold thread, the lime green thread, the orange thread, and that's the color of your thread. Um, but what I'm also thinking is there's going to be small environmental puzzles, like the one that you just mentioned about loose thread. You have to find the loose thread and then connect it to something else. There's a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of those throughout the entire map, and then if you take the time to do those, you could find hidden thread past it, and so you could get more thread to finish that map. And then the main puzzles will be like bigger stuff that is like more unique to the main puzzles, but there'll be small hidden stuff that you could do all around. You know what I mean? And they'll always be kind of the same. Like you could always find that, kind of like how Nintendo does it. You could always find that loose thread somewhere in this map multiple times, and it's always going to be there. But if you find it, take the time to do it because you could get extra thread, type of thing.
All right. So let's try to nail down what this game looks like. I see it looking very. There's got to be texture, right?
Hmm.
Because you're dealing with thread, you're dealing with interwoven stuff, so there's going to be texture there.
Yeah.
Um, I that's where I'm like 2.5 3D. Is it going to be like bright and colorful, saturated, or should we have it look a little bit more realistic so it's like at a museum and historical?
I mean,
Or
I like the idea that we originally had in terms of story, where it's like a seamstress's shop, and so
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
I imagine it to kind of look like Unraveled or like Little Big Planet, where or even Pikmin, where it's zoomed in and cartoony, and you see everything, but in the background is the seamstress's workspace, and it
Yeah.
looks like hyper realistic.
Yeah, I'd want it to be hyper realistic, but also I'd want the tapestry and everything not to look so kiddie because it is a professional making it. In Unraveled and Pikmin, it almost looks like for instance, Olimar coming from Pikmin looks like a character that could be right at home on Nick Jr. He's basically like three circles.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd want something, I guess, artistically more creative than that, like so to say.
How about we change the way the game is played altogether then, and make it so we get rid of the online thing, and we keep like the power up burst thing, but everything is placed in a specific spot where, and the extra stuff is like, okay, so everything in the game, the order that you do it is linear,
Yeah.
and all the puzzles are linear and always there. Even the small side puzzles are always there, like I said, but they're all built. You are essentially building a tapestry without even knowing it until you do your first one. And at the end, it zooms out and it's actually like a beautiful, like
Oh, yeah, there
art
you go.
piece. So, like,
Okay.
there are one way solutions for everything. There's no way to mess, there's no alternate paths to solve a puzzle. You could do hidden stuff, but that'll add like a little sparkle here or a little sparkle here. But if you miss them, then it'll still come out okay. They're just the optional puzzles that you do on the side. And then there's the main one, and then like you are building up, kind of like Picross. You're like building up to a bigger picture that you can't see until you're finished. And while you're playing, it just feels like you're just throwing your needle and putting thread everywhere, and you just don't know what's happening. But then when it zooms out for the first time, it'll like blow the player's mind, like, oh, we this whole time we were making something, you know.
Yeah, I like that. And I think it'll also encourage players who really are into the game to alter their play style to make the best kind of tapestry once they get the hang of it and kind of move around. Now, what kind of music are you looking for? I almost want something that rings of like enchantment, but also like a fable. I guess what I'm saying here is close to like a holiday movie or Dr. Seuss or something like that, where not Dr. Seuss maybe, but it's a magical creature, sort of. It's magic that's creating these tapestries at night and making a seamstress's life better. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit more wholesome.
How about we even theme it even more? You're a seamstress during the 1400s in Europe, and these tapestries are of folklore, like monsters and like
Ooh.
stuff like that, and then the music will reflect that time, you know what I mean? So we could either go medieval, or you're like some seamstress that works off the beach of, I don't know, off of Scotland or something. I don't know. We could put them anywhere, you know what I mean? And then whatever your tapestries come out is whatever theme we put the seamstress in, and then the music will also reflect that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So if we just
All right.
do the medieval theme, then we'll have like more medieval music, but more like, yeah, like fantasy esque. I don't know how else to, like fairy like.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
could
That's
do,
exactly what I wanted. Was that kind of, yeah, like a fairy like enchantment,
yeah,
fantasy type of ring to it.
right.
Now, with this, I was also thinking in terms of consoles where it would go, do you think this could also be adapted to a phone game?
I mean I think at this point anything really could be a phone game, or if anything,
I guess would it be
tablet,
good?
like tablet exclusive. But yeah, I think most phones could run games and make them look pretty good as well. I wouldn't think it
Would
couldn't
it
be on phone.
controller okay?
Yeah, I mean, it would just be, instead of using an analog stick and X, you would, or R2, you'd just uh touch and drag and then let go, right? Kind of like a catapult.
All right.
But
Now,
pricing would
the
be
reason
interesting if we go on phone though. That's the thing.
that's exactly why I brought it up is I was going to go straight into the pricing and see where we were going to go with this. I don't imagine this game being terribly long. It's not going to overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
So with the pricing, it's hard to say. I feel like if it's phone, it has to be around like $10. But otherwise, if it were a console release, I'd want to do $19.99
I would say
or 15.
1999 from consoles for sure. In terms of if we go to iPhone, maybe we could do just like an iPhone exclusivity and just put it on Apple Arcade and just get one whole lump sum. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, that works.
And
I like
then
that idea.
maybe even just put it on Game Pass, and then only PlayStation members would have to pay for it, really. Um, but it could be on Game Pass, it could be on Apple Arcade, and then it could also be on Epic Game Store or like
Steam.
Steam. I just say Epic Game Store just because. Well, I guess they're just giving out free games just because it's the summer. Anyway, yeah, it'll just go to like those type of things, and then certain people would have to buy it, whereas others will just get it for some kind of subscription service.
All right, I'm cool with that. Well, Jay, get your timer out because we're going to name this game.
Go for it.
All right, I'm thinking thimble.
I'm thinking needle and thread.
Needle and thread.
Yeah.
Thread and needle. Theedle.
Want to name the pincushion?
Should we name it? But then we'd have to put something in. All right, I'm cool with it. We can do needle and thread.
Needle and thread in 28 seconds.
All right. Needle and Thread is a 2.5/3D platformer where during the working hours of a seamstress's shop, you are just a pincushion. At night, you come alive and possess the very fabrics that the seamstress worked on during the day. You weave, bob, move, jump, and avoid obstacles as you scale different fabrics, curtains, and much more as you reveal the patterns that lay within in Needle and Thread. All right, Jay. I think we have a game here. Would this be a game that you would want to play, and is it fun?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a fun little quick game that you could just kind of play and then forget about, and even probably platinum pretty quickly. It doesn't seem like it's going to be much of a hassle. So I think I'll give it a
No.
shot for the platinum. You know,
I think Thread and Needle would not be the type of game that you would want to have a hassle on. I don't want this game to be a source of frustration.
yeah.
All right. So, what developer would you want to make Needle and Thread?
The
Where do you see
first,
it coming alive?
the very first developer that comes to mind is Giant Squid. They're the guys who are behind Abzu
Oh,
and
absolutely. Okay.
a game that's coming out pretty soon. Um, Let me look it up real quick. There was like a preview of it at the recent PlayStation State of Play, The Pathless, which is I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember any gameplay of this, but you're this cool looking girl in this Breath of the Wild looking world, but she's like running and then sliding, and then you shoot arrows, and when it hits targets, you get a burst of speed and you keep going.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I do remember
and the
that.
arrows are auto targeting, so you don't have to worry about aiming down sights or anything. You just have to shoot it in rhythm of your sliding, and so it just looks awesome. But yeah, I think Giant Squid could do something crazy with this, just because they like to take like a unique twist and spins off of like uh these, what would you call them, not walking simulators, but like these journey-esque games where they're like an artistic work that's playable, and it's just supposed to look really cool, and the gameplay is like it's fun, but it's more about how cool it looks type of thing.
All right. I'm gonna lead off the top with one that's semi-serious, but I think they would do a great job as Nintendo.
Mhm.
They've done Yoshi's Woolly World as well as Kirby's Yarn Story. So this would be a cool one-off game, maybe a Nindy that could come out or something like that that they would maybe take charge of, even though indie devs usually do Nindies, but
Right.
during a spotlight like that. Um, Now, usually we don't do Nintendo because they're really insular. So I also came up with something very similar to your suggestion, which is That Game Company,
Oh,
which made Journey.
yeah.
And in Journey, there was a piece of fabric that grew, had great textures to it. And I felt like the character you play in that game would be kind of similar to what the levels would be that you're platforming on.
Right. Another game studio that comes to mind, obviously, speaking of like amazing looking textures and everything, and we mentioned them earlier, is Coldwood Interactive, which are the developers behind Unraveled, which is pretty much the next step. This is like the next step in that game. You know what I mean? Like it's you could
Oh, yeah,
see
you're
pretty
right.
close comparisons from Unraveled to Needle and Thread, and so I think they would do
It'd be like an
pretty well.
extended
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
Part of
Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just thinking part of just the Yarn franchise. All these things moving on their own, almost like a Toy Story.
Right. Do you have any more? Because I have one more.
Nope, you shoot.
Yeah, so there's another game by Plastic Studios and also SIE Santa Monica, which is called. They made a game called Bound, which was this
Oh, yep, I heard about
super
that.
artistic, weird art. Like the environments you were in were really weird looking, and then the
Yeah.
main character was a ballerina, and it just
Oh.
had a crazy art style to it, and I don't know what when we were first talking about this game, I just Bound was the first game that came to my mind. We kind of departed away from how Bound is, but I think it'd be cool if the Bound team got their hands on this.
I think so. And with that, our 116th IP has gone gold. We hope you look forward to this experience that we'll probably never release. You can write to @poundgames@gmail.com if you have anything to patch into the game we create today. Also, give us feedback. We are still learning how to make this show better, and your feedback really helps. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to back our ideas, please head over to patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. Patrons receive episodes 2 days early and an extra podcast at the beginning, which you caught the tail end of our conversation at the beginning of this episode. That's patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. If you liked our show, why not subscribe and give us all the stars on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, Spotify, YouTube, and more. If they ask for a review, instead of reviewing our show, become your inner game critic and review Needle and Thread, the video game we just created. Thank you for joining us today. We will be back next Friday with another new IP. Again, my name is Alex Gonzalez.
And I'm Jay Yee.
Thank you, and please remember that we are not game devs. Down, down, ba-da-ba-ba-da-bum, bum. Me doing my tone deaf rendition of the outro. All right.